Hi, there's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with another kind of update to the God-Pharaoh's Gift Marionette Master combo. I know many of you may be bored of this deck. I've been playing it now for quite some time, but it feels good to be back in the grind. If you've been following my channel for quite some time, you know I've been very bored with Magic as far as competitive play goes or constructed play goes. I still enjoy it running a shop. I mean, it's very fulfilling playing Commander and just being involved in the Magic community. But I think it's been a long time since I've actually competed. I would actually say, like, seriously tried to make a deck work. I throw a lot of tickets building rogue decks, and a lot of the times they're unproven, they're unrefined, they're bad. I just like the experience of building decks and playing them. But again, fine tuning. I've never really taken a deck, I would say, since, man, even Theros block. It's been forever since I've really tried to fine tune a deck and play it. So I'm excited with this one. I think it's finally proven in the metagame. This standard, I know I did a video not too long ago about how I didn't like energy, and I think it's just, I've always not been a fan of goodstuff.deck, and I think if there ever was a format that really solidifies playing goodstuff.deck, it's energy from Kaladesh, because I think they they pushed energy too much, and all of the cards were just too good compared to their counterparts. Now, it's no Delver, or it's no Cobblade, or I would even say it's not even Mono Black Devotion. Those are the standards that I really hated, like the Theros block, or Theros Mono Black with Ravnica just got out of control. There was a lot of times it was impossible to brew. I wouldn't say that this format's impossible to brew. You can be very successful with many different decks. It's just annoying to go up against the energy after energy after energy after energy after energy decks. And I don't know who to blame. Who do I blame? Just kind of the spike culture that always play the top deck, or at least I would say that the energy is kind of the Jund of standard now. Jund hasn't really ever been a boogeyman, except for when Deathrite Shaman and the Blood Elf were illegal in the format. But it's always been like, or Abzan, if you look at the last like Modern Worlds, Abzan was the top deck played. It's just kind of the safe deck to play. It's got a good matchup versus everything. It doesn't really have any holes in its strategy, and a lot of people are comfortable playing decks like that where they don't just sit down and go up against a bad match. So I guess I'm okay with people playing energy. It's just that I am the rogue deck builder. I like innovation, I like creativity, and I like new experiences. So going up again and again and again and again against the energy decks gets very boring. Again, though, however, it's not nearly as oppressive as formats in the past. It's very beatable, and I think this deck's proved it. Let me give you some statistics, and we'll look over them. In the past 4 leagues that I've done, I have 2 4-1 finishes and 1 3-2 finish. You can ask Zach about my 3-2 finish. I was swearing up a storm because one of those matchups where I lost, it's on my laptop, so it's I would show you the games of those ones, but it's on my laptop at the store. It's kind of crazy how... Well, I think everything's saved internally for your replays, so you can't find the replays that you played on different computers. So I have the 2 4-1 finishes on this computer that I'll probably show you, or we'll cherry pick some games that were really fun to watch. But anyway, some statistics. Oh, go back to the 3-2 finish. One of those losses in the 3-2 finish, I was swearing up a storm because both games I had like almost like 35 plus cards of my library still there, and it was like 16 or 17 lands were shown. So they were either in the graveyard on the bottom of my library, or I played them, and I was always like, I was so frustrated because I'm like, why is the 20 land deck keeping up with the control deck with land drops? It was one of those times. But anyway, that's another rant for another day with MT Joe. Maybe I should just learn to shuffle better. But anyway, so let's go over to some statistics. In the 4-1, 4-1, 3-2, which I've played more leagues than that. The majority of finishes I've gone at least 3-2 or better. I think I've only gone 1-2-3 and 1-1-4, or it was actually a 1-3 drop. So the last 3, though, after I fine-tuned the deck, I've been able to do 7-2 versus energy variants, 2-0 versus Ramming Up Red, 0-1 versus Oketra's Monument. That's very tough. That's an extremely tough matchup for me. 1-0 versus Abzan Tokens, which tends to be one of the easier matchups. They're very Veraska dependent, and they just give you so much time to assemble your combo. They can get a lot of life, and you can still just one-shot them with the life. So anyway, 0-1 versus Blue-Red Artificer, and 1-0 versus the Black-Red Aggro. So if you add that up, it is going to be, what is that? That's going to be 11-4, I believe. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, 11-4, which isn't too shabby. Again, 2 of those matchups we lost are against non-tier decks, and I think a 7-2 win rate right now versus Energy is quite impressive. Ram It Up can be a tough matchup, but the deck easily has ways to beat it. I would say the worst matchup for this deck, hands down, would be Marty Vehicles. It's nearly impossible to beat. Oketra's Monument would be up there. If you go back to leagues before that, I think I'm 3-0 versus U-White Control. There are some other ones that I'll have to look, but I'll have to go through them all. It's spread on 3 different computers. I have a laptop at the store, I have a computer at the store, and I have my computer at home. I've played leagues on all of them, so it's going to be a mess to try to put all the numbers together for this deck. But the deck has definitely paid for itself, well, except for my crappy opens from the treasures. One of the treasures, I opened up 15 treasures the other day and got 2 tickets worth of value. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, let's go down the deck tech now that I've rambled for 6 minutes about nothing. I've done deck techs with this before, but I think I'm more comfortable kind of explaining the ins and outs of this deck. The deck is capable of turn 4. Turn 4 is very, very tough to assemble because you either have to have a Hope of Ghirapur and a Walking Ballista, as well as a Minister of Inquiries to start milling, and the Minister of Inquiries has to mill perfect. So how you could do a turn 4, I've shown that on my YouTube channel before, is you go turn 1 Minister, you start milling, you have to pay a turn 3 Gate to the Afterlife, and then turn 4, you crack the Gate to the Afterlife, find the Marionette Master. You need like a Hope of Ghirapur or a Walking Ballista in hand. Marionette Master is going to put 3 servos out with the God-Pharaoh's Gift. That's 16 damage if you have a Metalwork Colossus, and then you need the Hope of Ghirapur to connect and sacrifice, or the Marionette Master to connect, or the 3 servos God-Pharaoh's Gift to sacrifice, and then you can cast a Walking Ballista for free and do the last bit of damage. I've got off a few turn 4s. Again, they're rare. Turn 5 is a lot more common because you have just the natural setup with the Gate to the Afterlife and then sack it. Like, a lot of times you can actually on turn 5 cast Gate to the Afterlife, sack it, and then find your combo. A lot of them are always dependent on the Metalwork Colossus and a Marionette Master in the graveyard. So this deck, to accomplish that, we're going to run a ton of ways to put cards in our graveyard. 4 Minister of Inquiries, 4 Chart the Courses, 3 Strategic Plannings, 4 Champion of Wits, as well as the Ipnu Rivulets. I might go down to 2 Ipnu Rivulets because they're really starting to make the Drowned Catacombs come into play tapped. I never want to see a land come into play tapped with this deck. A lot of times you want your turn 1, you want your turn 2, you want turn 3. I'm losing the games when, unfortunately, we get stuck on lands or one of them comes into play tapped. So Ipnu Rivulets on the watch list of cards that I might cut. I also might cut like one of Hope of Ghirapur, one of Glint-Nest Crane, and put more Trophy Mages in the main. There's a lot of different routes that you can go with this deck, but what you really want is the charts, champions, and ministers. That's kind of the overall gist of this deck. There's a lot of other similar decks with the Esper, God-Pharaoh's Gift. Some run refurbished, some don't, but their finisher is the Angel. Right now in Angel of Invention, right now in the meta though, I don't find the Angel to be better than Marionette Master except for maybe one match, and that's Ram It Up. But the vast majority of matchups, I think that this combo, being able to just one-shot the opponent, is a lot better than the Angel of Invention. So, I mean, I'll argue that to death. Of course, people have proven that is a 5-0 deck so far. I have not been able to prove that, but I'm just one person running this deck. I haven't run across anyone else running a Marionette Master God-Pharaoh's Gift combo. So anyway, Walking Ballista is, let's go over the other cards in this deck. Hope of Ghirapur is just a really good chump blocker early on. It's an artifact that can sack itself. You can actually set up some cool combos with the Hope of Ghirapur by sacking. If you know you're going to a creature-based deck, you can Hope of Ghirapur, sack it. I've actually won some games versus UI Control because they couldn't cast their second Approach the Second Sons because I've made it so they couldn't cast the non-creature spell, and then I've actually locked him out for a few turns within like God-Pharaoh's Gifts. Hope of Ghirapur has been able to set up a Gate to the Afterlife on the battlefield within keeping up 2 mana, so it keeps you away from a Braid. So you can then crack the Gate to the Afterlife to find the God-Pharaoh's Gift. That's been pretty good with the Hope of Ghirapur. Mainly Hope of Ghirapur is just a 1/1 chump blocker that dies, goes to the graveyard. I actually kind of like the legendary in here because it allows you to have Marionette Master combos. If you have a Hope of Ghirapur out, you have the Marionette Master out. I've actually been able to Marionette Master back with 2+ or with the 3+1/1 counters, makes the 7/7 attack in with the Marionette Master. Cast a Hope of Ghirapur, cast another Hope of Ghirapur, and that's 21 damage because both are the Hope of Ghirapur, or attacking with the Hope of Ghirapur. And then cast the Hope of Ghirapur, sack the one that didn't do combat damage, you let go of the graveyard, and then sack the other Hope of Ghirapur. That's how I was able to do the it's like 22 damage with that combo. So I think it's definitely something that I would like a replacement for, but at this point though, they'd have to print something like a Hangerback Walker or another one drop that I think is relevant. And at the moment, I don't think any decks, like, it's not worth running Beaumont Courier. Hope of Ghirapur is actually kind of cool because it can chump block flyers, which is relevant. There are many times that it is a very relevant chump blocker versus Heart of Crayons and things like that. Strategic Planning is really good as a 3-of. I don't like to go too many non-creatures because we're already running a lot with God-Pharaoh's Gift, Gate to the Afterlife, Strategic, Chart the Course, but these allow you to run the extremely low land count, and you'd be surprised at how often you flood with this deck. You just need 2 lands for this deck to start running on all cylinders, because you can rely on a Chart the Course or Strategic Planning to find your 3rd land, and your Champion of Wits can find you the rest of the lands. And then, of course, Gate to the Afterlife with 3. If you have cards out, they die, you can start to loot. You usually keep the lands, throw everything else in the graveyard. Of course, Marionette Master is the finisher for the deck. Metalwork Colossus is a support card. Walking Ballista is just extremely good in this matchup because you can kill off... Oh, it's been so amazing versus Glint-Nest Siphoners lately, as well as the Earthshaker Kenras. It's very good against those. The Beaumont Couriers is good against those. But Toolcraft Exemplars, that's a terrible matchup though. I don't expect to beat Mardu. But really Glint-Nest Siphoner, the Walking Ballista. I like actually Sultai is kind of 50-50 with me because Sultai has Scarab God, which is just a mess to play against. It's actually the reason I've lost my last matchup that I didn't go 5-0 was turn 4 Scarab Gods both games, and I wasn't able to find any sort of Hostage Taker, Bontu/Reckoning, or just my combo before they could get it out. So, or start eating my graveyard with the Scarab God. So anyway, the Walking Ballista though is really good against Glint-Nest Siphoner, whereas the Teamer is usually running like Long Tusk Cub, or they run a lot more of the mid-range stuff. And Walking Ballista is a lot better to break up Sultai than it is to try to break up Teamer. But usually Walking Ballista is just a 0 drop in here. It's very flexible. It can actually win games by itself. It's not a terrible target to get back with God-Pharaoh's Gift, but usually that's not what you're doing. There's some cool combos with Gate to the Afterlife. You can cast Walking Ballista for free and then loot. A lot of times that ends up happening, as well as Marionette Master. You can cast for free to do, comes into play and dishes off the damage. So it'd be awesome to have like something like a Hangerback Walker. Would really love to build this in Frontier if Frontier were to take off. However, so far that it doesn't seem like Wizards, it looks like Wizards wants to go Ixalan forward with the release of their the arena. So anyway, let's go on to the sideboard. Aethersphere Harvester is kind of the weak link in here because it's really only good versus one match, and it's not even that good versus that match, which is ramming up red because a lot of them are going heavier to the Soulscar Mages and the Harsh Mentors and the Rampaging Ferocidons, and Aethersphere Harvester gets completely shut down by those. Throw in a Braid into the mix, and it's one of those cards that one of's fine. It's a Trophy Mage tutor. There have been matchups for sure that the Aethersphere Harvester has won me the game, so I'm keeping the 1 of in. It used to be a 3 of, now it's down to a 1 of. Trophy Mages are good in the sideboard. I do have one in the main. These are just against the matchups where I can afford to cast a 3-drop that doesn't really do anything that turn. Like Champion of Wits does something that turn by looting. You could say Trophy Mage goes and gets the gate, but there's so many games where that's actually not what you want to be doing on turn 3. So I rely on my Glint-Nest. A lot of people are like, you run not that many artifacts. Glint-Nest isn't that great. Well, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Odds are Glint-Nest Crane is going to hit with 16 artifacts. It gets kind of better as the more artifacts you can bring in from the sideboard. And the thing is, it filters through your deck. You go through 4 cards, and if one of them isn't Gate to the Afterlife, you've gone through 4 cards digging for Gate to the Afterlife. If you end up hitting like even a Metalwork Colossus or God-Pharaoh's Gift, fine. It's card advantage. You can then throw those away with the Champion of Wits and the Chart the Course. But anyway, Trophy Mage is really good versus some matchups. I'll bring it in versus Teamer. Usually the sideboard goes, you throw out the Hope of Ghirapur, you throw out 2 Glint-Nest Cranes, bring in 2 Trophy Mage, 2 Bontus, Last Reckonings, and 2 Hostage Takers. That's usually the Teamer matchup that I bring. I'm actually down to 3 of Scrapheap Scrounger. These started coming in because UI Control was on the rise, and these cards are really good versus UI Control. Gives you another card you can exile, you can get back from your graveyard to then sack to the Walking Ballista combo, which is pretty good, really relevant. But it's down to a 3 of in the sideboard. I had him in the main at one point, didn't like him. In fact, I named this Scrapheap God-Pharaoh's Gift, but we're still just messing around with the right cards. Search for Azcanta and Treasure Map come in versus more control matchups. Sometimes I'll try to what we call next level my Teamer or my other opponents. That sometimes Teamer brings in more hate cards. Like I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario with Teamer as and Sultai, because a lot of times they bring in like Slice and Twains, more Abrades, counter spells, disallows, things like that, and they just allow me to build up rather than putting the pressure. Sometimes Teamer's very, very tough when they have that curve of Long Tusk Cub into Rogue Refiner into like a Tune into Long Tusk Cub into Rogue Refiner into Chandra into Glorybringer. Those are so tough to stop, but a lot of times they'll side out a lot of their kind of oomph for Sultai will bring in Duress, Teamer will bring in Negates and more Abrades and Slice and Twains and all those, and I sometimes prefer that. And if I know they're doing that, I'll bring in like Search for Azcanta, Treasure Map, because it's just going to allow me to eventually just play the land go route and just get there. Treasure Map can win the game with Marionette Master, as it puts out 3 treasures, then you can put out a Marionette Master. If you actually bring it back with a God-Pharaoh's Gift, it comes back as a 7/7, sack, and you win the game. So I like having both of these in for that reason versus the decks that I think are going to bring in a lot of hate cards. They're great to counter. Lost Legacy is in here for the one-trick pony decks, so other God-Pharaoh's Gift decks, I can get specific cards there. Sometimes I'll bring it in versus Scarab Goblin, sometimes I won't. Just depends on if I really think they're really heavy on the Scarab God, like a 4 of or a 3 of. Otherwise, Lost Legacy is just in here for mainly approach to the Second Sun, and like I said, other one-trick pony decks so you can just completely get rid of their win con. Bunch of Last Reckonings in here for Teamer. Sometimes I'll bring it in versus Ramming Up Red if I know they're bringing in Rampaging Ferocidons and a lot of Harsh Mentors. Hostage Taker comes in versus Ramming Up. It also comes in versus Teamer. This is a card I wouldn't be too, at this point in time, wouldn't be too against putting in the main. But I like bringing it in from the sideboard. And so, yeah, so that's kind of the gist of the deck. Wow, I'm way into the deck tech. This is a huge overview of the deck, though. Let's get on to some games here. I'll show you my last games that I played. So let's go over the competitive. And this one's kind of awkward. We'll watch game 1 here. Oh, we'll watch the 2 games. He quit here. I don't understand why he quit after this game. I'm wondering if he just hit the submit button wrong with concede. But we'll throw this replay out here. I'll try to show you some of the traditionally how this deck actually runs. So I did win the die roll here, which is so significant. Ramming Up Red, when you win the die roll, you usually win. When you lose, it's tough to come back from. But this is definitely a keepable hand. You always like to see a first turn Minister with the Gate to the Afterlife in your opening hand, as well as their Champion of Wits. It's going to be able to throw the Marionette Master. Fatal Push, sure. Not a big... I actually like it when they bring in like Magma Sprays and Fatal Pushes. It's really... of course, this is main. This isn't the sideboard yet, but it really kind of makes me like shake my head or scratch my head when they bring in a lot of like Magma Sprays to try to combat what I'm doing, because I don't care. This deck is so good at putting in cards in the graveyard. You Magma Spray, Minister of Inquisitor, or Champion of Wits, whoop-de-doo. Glint-Nest Crane dodges it, and yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Oops, trying to click OK. Wrong game. We're watching a replay here. So my opponent throws out the Winding Constrictor. Not a very good card at the moment without any way to hook it up. And we get the Gate to the Afterlife, no problem. So another Winding Constrictor comes out and an Aether Hub. And so we've kind of... Opponent has a ton of energy and just doesn't really have anything to do with the Winding Constrictor. So I'm going to throw out the second gate rather than the Champion of Wits and just throw the Walking Ballista to try to start looting. Because I'm like, okay, if he destroys a Gate to the Afterlife, we're in good shape here. I'm just going to chuck out the Walking Ballista, throw some things in the graveyard, and we're going to try to combo next turn. So again, this is a turn 4. My opponent still does not have anything. Taxing with both the the Winding Constrictors. So my whole theory was the next turn, Champion of Wits, if it finds 2 creatures in my graveyard, I'll have the 2 mana perfectly for the combo to occur. So down to a 20, and we'll throw out the Rivulet. That's a little more powerful. And this does get Essence Scattered, I believe. Yes, but it's still, there's 2 in the graveyard. I just need 1 more. That means the Rivulet's going to be very, very successful of, in my opinion, finding that last card. So it is kind of worrisome with my opponent having 4 lands open to try anything here. But I'm just going to chart, because chart does find the Hope of Ghirapur. And then we can sack the Gate to the Afterlife, and my opponent just scoops at that point. I don't know if my opponent needs to quite scoop. This means it doesn't have anything in the graveyard, but what this would have occurred was we would have been able to get Gate to the Afterlife from hand, another Gate from the Afterlife to our hand, bring back both the Champion of Wits and the Marionette Master, and at that point, it's pretty much over. So a lot of games go like that. Oh geez, guess I don't close that like that. The second match, he got out the Scarab God, and I just dirtled. We're not going to watch that one for time. And then he scooped after that. But it's one of those matchups where it took him everything to get the Scarab God finally came out and did it. But let's watch. This one is a black, mono black aggro. And this one's easier than ramming up red because we have a lot of ways to really deal with what our opponent is doing. So I won the die roll here too, which again is very significant. This is a keepable hand because we don't know what we're going up against. 4 lands. I like to keep heavy lands because the odds are of us drawing into lands are pretty terrible at that point. We have 16 out of 53. So at this point we have almost as many loot cards as we do land cards. So yeah, this is a pretty good hand to keep. God-Pharaoh's Gift of Marionette Master you don't like to see in your opening hand, but it's okay. So here we go. We'll throw out the Walking Ballista. At least we can save some damage. Oh no, I did decide to go for the Hope of the Ghirapur. Yep, that's right, because it just blanks the Dread Wanderer. Will require a Fatal Push. Of course, I'll make this trade, and you just need to stall versus these aggro decks for as long as possible. Love seeing the Glint-Nest Siphoner because I can just Ballista it. Oh, I didn't decide to go that route, huh? Well, okay. Usually I Ballista it. Oh no. I remember why I chose not to do this here. This is why I'm a much better player when I'm not commentating while I'm playing. It's hard to keep the conversation going, as well as trying to figure out what I'm doing. I decided because you can't utilize the Glint-Nest Siphoner yet. So I don't care about the Glint-Nest Siphoner at this point, and next turn I get value. So my opponent puts out a Heart of Cran, so this is pretty easy here to put out a Walking Ballista on 2. Is that what I decided to do? Yeah. Because not only does it kill the Glint-Nest Siphoner, but I'll still have a creature back. And here my opponent puts out a Gifted Aetherborn, and of course cannot crew the Heart of Cran, so we're good there. And then we get a Strategic Planning and a Glint-Nest Crane. We'll Strategic Planning, it finds all lands. We'll take the Rivulet and then Glint-Nest Crane. And then the Glint-Nest Crane will find a Walking Ballista. I take it over the Hope of Ghirapur just because Walking Ballista is really good versus this deck. I know it runs like Glint-Nest Siphoners and Night Market Lookouts. There, of course, is Night Market Lookout. My opponent's going to crew the Heart of Cran, which is fine with me. Because we have a chump blocker for it. And that's what we'll end up doing, is blocking the Heart of Cran and looting, which is good because we can get the Marionette Master in the graveyard now, which is what we'll do. Find another Rivulet, and it's pretty much at this point it's going to be over. We're going to oh yeah, I decided to go Walking Ballista. I could probably safely try for a combo here, but this allows me to put Walking Ballista on 3, kill both Night Market Lookouts, and now my opponent's down to really, yeah, not really find anything. Goes for the Heart of Cran, crews the Aethersphere Harvester, or crews the Aethersphere Harvester, crew the Heart of Cran, attacks in for 4. We're still a very healthy 13. In fact, we're at like 15 because these are, that's what's really good with Walking Ballista. Decide to go, if you missed that there, wow. Okay, so I went Strategic Planning and to chart the course. We did find enough for the Gate to the Afterlife. I probably should have cracked some Walking Ballistas to try to find like oh, we did have a Marionette Master. Never mind. We had a Marionette Master in the graveyard, and I know this is game here. So here's what's really good about this. The Marionette Master can come on 7, and so we can attack in and put our opponent down to a 13, and then sack both the Walking Ballistas. That's actually going to do 16 more damage. So our opponent could have actually been up a little bit higher. All right. So Wow, that's annoying to have to go back to details every time. We'll go over to game number 2. Game number 2 was very similar to this. We both got kind of stalled. I think this is the one we both mulligan pretty low here. Yeah, we both go to 5 this game. That's what it was. And I keep a strategic planning Aethersphere Harvester. My opponent goes Dread Wanderer. I love to see the Walking Ballista because that's just going to be Valley City if I can get up to 4 lands with it. And I have time to really stabilize because my opponent's out of cards here. So I'm actually okay with like my opponent mulliganing and me mulliganing. Decide to go the Walking Ballista to kill the Glint Sleeve so my opponent can't draw out of it. And next turn we have the Aethersphere Harvester to throw out and kind of set up the energy to gain life. So down to an 11 here, but we have the Champion of Wits. And I'm glad my opponent didn't really have anything here, so we can go Champion of Wits to throw the Metalwork Colossus in the graveyard. And keep the... I'm surprised... Yeah, I decided not to keep the land there because we want to loot more. But either way, that both of them work. My opponent can't attack in because he can't attack into the Aethersphere Harvester. And we both get kind of stalled out here, I believe. I decided to go for the Walking Ballista because this allows me to kill the Night Market Lookout right off the bat. So my opponent can't just start draining me. And the crew's kind of not relevant here. So then my opponent, I believe this turn does get the land and throws out the Harvester. And that's fine. Crews the Harvester, crew the Heart of Cran, then realizes that it's not doing anything. And then passes the turn. So here I've got some options. I probably, hindsight, should have just went for Walking Ballista on, put it on 2. So my opponent can't drain me out. But at this point we get a Trophy Mage. I'm like, yeah, I'll go get a gate. That's probably a better thing to do. And not going to attack with anything. We just hold back. The board's still pretty stalled up. Kitesail Freebooter comes and gets the gate to the Afterlife. Now I'm like, man, I really wish I would have put the counter on Walking Ballista. My opponent decides to try to drain me from energy. Like, this attack doesn't accomplish anything except an energy down. And I could actually, I think what he wanted me to do is lose the Walking Ballista to kill his Heart of Cran, but I'm not going to go for that. We're just going to try to stabilize off. And then I have some options next turn, some strategic planning or chart the course. Speaking of which, strategic planning is usually better when you don't have anything you want to discard. And I went for the land here, and then we can go for Champion of Wits here. And I'm like, I could use an energy, but I'll use a life here. Get rid of the Champion of Wits, and at this point, Glint-Nest Crane's fine because it gives me another block, so my opponent can't just do the energy drain. Because now if we have the Glint-Nest Siphoner and the Aethersphere Harvester, we can double block on the Heart of Cran. So my opponent does it again. We're going to do the exact same thing. Not going to blow the Walking Ballista quite yet. And go ahead and block the Heart of Cran, and we're not down any life. We still have 1 energy. We're still okay. I mean, that's going to be my opponent's game plan, is to try to get me out of that energy and eventually wheedle me down. We get the Minister, though, which is fine. And this time I'm not going to play the Glint-Nest Crane because this allows me to put a counter on the Walking Ballista. So I was kind of disappointed with how this worked. So we Walking Ballista, my opponent attacks him with both, and end up crewing the Aethersphere Harvester and double blocking on the Gifted Aetherborn, and then blocking the Heart of Cran and then shooting it. But my opponent drew that turn another Heart of Cran. I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's still a card out of the hand. So at this point again, I can now cast it safely and throw out the Gate to the Afterlife. Hindsight, I don't know if that's quite the play, but allows kind of some flex spot. And I think my opponent just rage quit here because maybe drew like another Heart of Cran, another land. I don't think my opponent needed to give up at this point. Let's see. In our graveyard, we only have 1 creature. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we did have 5. So Walking Ballista could actually combo here, loot, and then maybe find the combo. Just if my opponent doesn't have anything to do with the God-Pharaoh's gift, then we're going to get so much advantage. Champion comes back after this. Champion loots a bunch of cards, and that's pretty much in the wrap. So the next one, is there a way? Let's see here. Oh, that's stupid. Okay, so that is a friendly match. That is the wrong... So the next one, this is actually, Batutina is a Brazilian pro. I think we'll look through all these matchups here. I know this is getting kind of a long video, but I hope this is helpful to how to pilot the God-Pharaoh's Gift. So here, this is a good hand. Unknown, we don't know what we're playing against. Double champion, you always want to see champions. So getting kind of frustrated because we drew land with keeping a 4-lander or a 5-lander. MTGO for you, I swear. I know this might be anecdotal, but runs happen in this game like crazy. Conspiracy theory here. But anyway, we throw away, that's what makes champion so good. We throw away 2 worthless lands. I will make this block. Throw out another champion. Does this one get essence scattered? Fine with me. It's use my opponent's turn 3 and turn 4. Throw out the Hope of Ghirapur, throw out the Bursting Hydra, and we'll just throw out a Chart the Course. And this is pretty good because we drew the Gate to the Afterlife, so I don't need the other Trophy Mage. Sometimes I'll keep it, but I'm like, we'll keep the lands here that allow me to get back the champion. I have 2 champions in the mix. My opponent decides to go for Harness Lightning. I don't know if I agree with that play to get in for some damage. It helped me loot too and throw away another land. And it got me closer to comboing off. I think that's, I don't know if that's, the more and more experience you have versus God-Pharaoh's Gift, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing. As if you put cards in my graveyard and allow me to loot, then it's getting me closer, especially here. This could be lethal if I draw into the right card. And I get another Chart the Course and decide to go for a Gate to the Afterlife, and we'll go for a Walking Ballista just because I want to be able to use it this turn and loot away what I want and get the Hope of Ghirapur. So now the Gate to the Afterlife is online. I have very good padding versus a Braid here. And we find the Metalwork Colossus, so all we're missing now is just the Marionette Master. And I love to see my opponent tap out here because it means I can't hit an Abrade. And then this is just going to be, even though I don't have the combo, 2 Gate to the Afterlife is just going to be too strong. So we get God-Pharaoh's Gift here and get 2 here. And I wish I actually do have the combo if we can hit a Marionette Master. So we're going to go champion first. Whoa, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, so what happened there is we went Champion of Wits. I actually hit this skip turn. We went Champion of Wits back from the graveyard. And what did my opponent? My opponent. Jeez. Okay, so Champion of Wits came back from the graveyard. It looted the Marionette Master, so I could find it back with the Marionette Master. And we don't quite have the combo here at that point. What we had, I was attacking you with the Marionette, the champion that came back with the God-Pharaoh's Gift in hopes that my opponent would take it. But my opponent decided to make a Thopter and a Whirler Virtuoso and block with a Whirler Virtuoso. That's what happened. So my champion died. I got back a Marionette Master and found a bunch of other stuff in my hand. And so this is really powerful. Chandra kills the Marionette Master. We have a backup in our hand, which is fine. I decided to get back the Metalwork Colossus. In fact, you know what? Hindsight, I had the victory last turn. I just didn't see it. I didn't see the second Metalwork Colossus in my graveyard. But if we back up here last turn, I could have God-Pharaoh's Gift for the champion, threw away the Marionette Master, got the Marionette Master back, creates 3 servos, and then attacked in with the champion. Okay, nothing happens. Then what we would have had is we could have used a Metalwork Colossus to kill a servo and a servo to bring back a Metalwork Colossus to then cast a Metalwork Colossus for free and then use the Metalwork Colossus in the graveyard to kill the Metalwork and the Metalwork. And then we would have had a Metalwork back in the graveyard and then we could have killed the 2 God-Pharaoh's Gifts. So, or at that point, we could even cast the other Marionette Master we got back and then kill the God-Pharaoh's Gift and a Metalwork Colossus. So, yeah, we actually had a ton of damage there with the recurring Metalwork Colossuses because I believe we could have done it one more time. Well, no, we wouldn't have the mana at that point to cast the other one. But anyway, I missed it. So the Marionette Master dies, but I'm still in so good shape. My opponent decides not to do anything. Chandra's not in ult range. And here we're just going to Metalwork Colossus for free to eternalize the Champion of Wits so that I can get the Marionette Master in the graveyard again and then God-Pharaoh's Gift 2 of them back. And Harness Lightning here is just pointless. We have the kill in so many different ways. And we'll just go through the motions, bring back put it back as a... Actually, I don't even go through the motions here. I just, before even this triggers, just kill a bunch of servos to finish off the game. All right, so the next one... Wish there's a way to go back. Is this it? No, that is not it. Guess you just have to close it every time. Okay, so back to game number 2. The game number 2 with this is where some of these matchups versus Teamer can get quite rough. We decide to keep this hand. It's not the greatest, but you always keep Gate to the Afterlife in 3-land hands. Spiral of Canal is not that impressive. We just put the Drowned Catacomb into play tapped, and Servant of Conduit comes out. Find another Drowned Catacomb into play tapped. So I'm not liking this because we have no way to loot at the moment. And I think this is the one, yeah, I think we get shut down with the Braids. Oh, Nissa. A turn 3 Nissa was very, very powerful. It gets in for some damage. We get the Trophy Mage here. Go find another gate. But we're just so far behind with that Nissa finding value. So Nissa's going to continue to scry, set things up, and get a Whirler Virtuoso. Here I try for the gate to the Afterlife, and I believe it either gets negated or abraded. And it does get negated, and so that is terrible. We drew another land that we didn't want, so no looting at the moment. Still not going to do anything. Decide to go for another gate, and I believe this one does get abraded. Yeah, so my opponent has all the answers, has the Nissa that is just, you know, on all cylinders here. And at this point, we're just too far behind. So this is on the play, or on the draw, is a lot tougher at times. We're going to Marionette Master to try to find the servo. So somehow we can maybe draw out of this, but it's going to be very, very difficult. We'd have to find like the perfect cards ever. And the Confiscation Coup is pretty much seals the deal here. As now we don't even get any advantage off of this, and we're down to 1. Hoping for like some sort of YOLO, but there's no way. No possible way I can find my way out of this. Like sometimes you could run like a Gate to the Afterlife here. If I had like Walking Ballista, Walking Ballista, Walking Ballista, and Walking Ballista in our hand, we could cast them for free. Discard the Metalwork Colossus, discard the Hostage Taker. We'd have enough crack, get the Marionette Master of our own, and then try our best to at that point we would win because Metalwork Colossus could kill all 4 of them, or 5. No, we'd still be 1 behind. I think we'd be 1 life behind. We could attack it with these 2 though. Our opponent can only block 1. Huh? Yeah, maybe that would have been a win there. So you always want to go for your outs here. The last one against that matchup was, I think, pretty interesting. Yeah, it went for a long time. I think this is the one where our opponent got a lot of hate cards, and I was able just to outdraw. So we no, that was a 1-lander. You can't keep a 1-lander with this deck. This is I was kind of upset with the no island. We only had 3 swamps in the deck, and unfortunately we have the Aether Hub. So I decided I'm going to go for Minister just to give me more energy. I was so, if I get Essence Scattered here, I'm so dead. But still don't like this hand. But my opponent also doesn't have the greatest draw at this point. No turn 3 Nissa, it's just a Rogue Refiner, sure. And that's fine. This turn we do have a Drowned Catacomb. That was a perfect draw because it Trophy Mages, finds the Gate to the Afterlife, and then we're in great shape here. So Blooming Marsh, well, this is actually 4-color energy. We make the trade with the Rogue Refiner, that's fine. Where the Virtuoso comes out, that's also fine. And we'll mill ourselves, find another Trophy Mage and Glint-Nest, so I like that mill. And I went for it, but we just didn't quite have the creatures in our graveyard. So I'm just going to try to keep my opponent back a turn by taking the Whirler Virtuoso. And then it forces like my opponent to kill the Hostage Taker this turn and uses an Abrade. So I'm happy for that. It usually means there's another Abrade in my opponent's deck. And I think this one, does the gate get negated? But we draw another one. I think that's what it was. So my opponent had like the perfect answers for these, because I think another Abrade comes down here too with the gate. And Chandra was a really good card. So at this point I'm like, ugh, I'm in bad shape. Abrade. Here's the Chandra ticking up. We get a Champion of Wits, but we have one in the graveyard, so we play the 7th land. And that's what's so powerful about this. Draws 4, discards 2. We can get rid of the Champion of Wits here. And I decided attacking because this Minister is just so worthless at this point. We don't need to mill. We have everything we need in the graveyard, I believe. Well, to win this game, we do. Opponent decides to cast the Whirler Virtuoso here, which is a good sign. Oh, no, the Scared Dot does come down here. And here's where I think the Bachelor team made a mistake. So I tagged into the champion into Chandra. My opponent decides to go with the Scarab God. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I needed not to lose this game. So not only does it allow me to chart the course without discarding a card, which is relevant at this point because we don't have anything we want to discard, it allows me to kill the Scarab God and, yeah, then chart the course and throw away. We don't have to throw away anything. We still have the search for Azcanta. My opponent finds an Attune. I think decides to cast the Scarab God again. And is this where we YOLO? I think we YOLO and find what we need this turn with Chart the Course. So Chart the Course does find the Gate to the Afterlife, and we have lethal. So we have Gate to the Afterlife, finding God-Pharaoh's Gift. Oh no, this is where we... Oh yeah, we do have lethal here. Yeah. We had perfect because we have the Walking Ballista out. So sacrifice everything to the Metalwork Colossus, which does enough damage, -2, and we win the game. So that's what I really liked about this deck. I don't think, like, this just shows my opponent had a great draw. Rogue Refiner, Braid, Negate, Braid, War of the Virtuoso, Scarab God, Chandra. Can you ask for a better hand? I'm not quite sure if you can at that point. I mean, shutting me down perfectly, but, you know, a lot of times you get the cards, the third Gate to the Afterlife. I think at that point, too, even just a God-Pharaoh's Gift in my hand would have worked. And that pretty much solidifies that match. Let's go over to the ramming up. I'm just going to show you like one game because these two weren't very interesting. This was I got stuck. Let's just show a typical. Let's show this. No, this one my opponent got stuck on 2 lands. Kept a really awkward hand. Well, we'll show what we can here. Again, I know this video is going extremely long. We're up to 41 minutes. All right. So yes, we'd like to play. Oh, jeez. So we get the die roll here, which is very, very key for this matchup. So I'm able to keep this hand. Love this hand. Of course, don't know what I'm up against with Minister of Inquiries. You always want to first turn Minister. It sets you up in so many different ways. And against Roundup, it's really good too because it blocks a Beaumont Courier. Turn 1 kind of just negates the Beaumont Courier. And we have Drowned Catacomb, so I'm just going to strategic planning. And at this point, we'll take the Champion. That's pretty good. Put a Minister of Inquiries in the graveyard. Champion's going to loot the Marionette Master or find us, you know, can even loot lands if we get way flooded and just decide to cast the Marionette. Harsh Mentor's fine. We'll just decide to loot our graveyard one time, which finds a Walking Ballista and another strategic planning. So it's like, oh, those are 2 cards I actually did want, but whatever. I want to get some use out of the Minister. So here we can go Champion. Sure. Champion comes down, loots, throws away the Marionette Master and Marionette Master, which now puts 1, 2, 3, 4 cards in our graveyard. And my opponent decides to Braid a Champion of Wits. I'm not sure that's the right play. We'll go ahead and mitigate the damage as much as possible. We draw another Glint-Nest, so it's better just to go double Glint-Nest here. And I believe finds 2 Hope of Ghirapurs. So the Hope of Ghirapurs do allow us to have some more chump blockers and some more creatures in the graveyard, or just chuck some things away at Champion of Wits. We're so close to going lethal here in so many different ways. Hazoret that can't attack this turn isn't that great. It blanks my opponent for attacking with either Soulscar or Harsh Mentor. This allows for another Champion of Wits to come down this turn. We'll do it before we play any sort of land. And we'll throw away an island. And we'll cast a Hope of Ghirapur here. I don't want to cast the Walking Ballista because it's actually pretty good to cast on like 6. So far so good. My opponent can throw an Earthshaker Kenra out and decides to use, I believe, another Lightning Strike so Hazoret can attack. We just have too much of a wall for my opponent to really get in. Also going to lose the Harsh Mentor. I don't know if attacking in with anything but the Hazoret would have been the right play here, because we get to kill the Harsh Mentor, which is going to be relevant with the Walking Ballista. Then we have a Walking Ballista here. I could have gone for Chart the Course for a YOLO, but decide to go for the Walking Ballista because it just shuts down the Earthshaker Kenra. Kind of surprised what my opponent does here too. Decides instead of keeping 7 mana for the Earthshaker Kenra is going to sack one of them, I believe. I am down to 11. So another Chart the Course, sure. We find the Gate to the Afterlife. We'll cast it. We're 1 land short for the gate, but next turn we're golden. So my opponent has to have an Abrade. Usually they just run like 2 Abrades, I believe. Decides to go for the Ramen Up, which is kind of awkward because not only is my opponent have to figure out a way to get rid of a card, but then doesn't have the mana to really do what they want. Here's an easy block. We'll block Hazoret, kill the Beaumont Courier, and the Earthshaker Kenra. And we also get to loot with this. Throw another Hope of Ghirapur away. The only thing that can beat us now is an Abrade. We have lethal on board, or do we have the combo yet? We don't have the combo, so that's why I decided to go champion, just to try to find something here. Throw both of these away, crack the gate to the Afterlife. God-Pharaoh's Gift, get Marionette Master. Attacking with Marionette Master because it puts my opponent in a weird position here, down to 16. No, we would have won here if we would have had a Metalwork Colossus. So out of 26 cards, we just didn't find it. Opponent can't attack in because it costs too much life. So we can just cast Walking Ballista for a bazillion. Oh, I go for Champion here. Yeah, Champion's fine. Either way is fine. And throw away the God-Pharaoh's Gift and Minister. And then we can bring back another Marionette Master and put it on 7. And then attacking with just the servos here. Opponent goes down to 13. And we don't quite win here. I was like, oh, I hope my opponent doesn't find an answer. Just cast a Walking Ballista for free, might as well. And my opponent did not find it, so next turn we bring back anything and it just wins the game. All right, so we'll go on to the match number 2. Match number 2 is... let's see, where were we? The typical on-the-draw Ramen Up. So I do keep this. It's kind of an awkward keep. This is where I hate the Rivulet. You'll see the Rivulet it really bites me here. Because I can go the Aether Hub, and then I get another Rivulet. So I hated seeing that card. I'm like, man, an island would have worked even at that point. Drowned Catacomb would have been nice. And so with here, I think I decided to go for the Glint-Nest Crane. I'm not sure if that was the right play in hindsight. And it doesn't find anything. So Glint-Nest, you fail me this time. Earthshaker Kenra comes in. My opponent's just getting this really quick draw, down to a 10 already on turn 3. And here we decide to go the gate to the Afterlife. No, I go Trophy Mage. Yeah, that's probably right, because a Aethersphere Harvester can win this game. Yeah, that's exactly what I decided to go. But I believe it's a Lightning Strike on the Glint-Nest Crane, so I'm wishing I would have gone the gate to the Afterlife. And my opponent attacks in. I have to make this block. There's no way around it. So maybe my opponent would have done this play and the gate to the Afterlife. I would have been able to block, and that would have been the difference. But then, yeah, you can see how the gate to the Afterlife, or the Ipnu Rivulet, really screws me up here. My opponent does have the Earthshaker Kenra next turn, I believe. Oh, just a Braid. And then, yeah, it finds... So my opponent did have the Braid, so gate to the Afterlife wouldn't work there. And there's a crop crasher. So very, very easy win for my opponent there. And then game number 3 was a very, very awkward game with my opponent keeping a loose hand. And I have to mold a 5. Because if you saw that 6, there was 2 God-Pharaoh's Gifts and 2 lands. And I didn't like that, so I had to go to 5. And I actually put a land on the bottom here, I believe. That was an island on the bottom because we had to chart the course. And I just wanted to try to get something more relevant. So we do chart the course. We can throw away, at that point, just a Hope of Ghirapur is the weakest card. And my opponent gets a Kenra and attacks in for 3. Sure. This next turn, though, we do have the Champion. So we're doing quite well here by setting up what we need. And throw away the Hostage Taker and the God-Pharaoh's Gift. I thought that was the best way to do it. I want another creature in the graveyard. And this turn I can cast. My opponent decides not to attack in. I think that wasn't my opponent should have attacked in. So get stuck on the 2 lands and no Abrade. And so this is just really, really powerful. Here, this is another attack that probably shouldn't have occurred because it allows me to loot. I don't know. My opponent wants to get in for as much as possible. But now I see we have the Walking Ballista, so we have the combo. And I actually have 2 Walking Ballistas I can loot with. So I want to try to find the win with this. And I don't find it. Don't find the cards that I need. But this does allow me to crack the gate to the Afterlife for the God-Pharaoh's Gift and get Hostage Taker here. Hostage Taker will take Carry Zev. Also, I should have attacked in here, hindsight, but I didn't. I don't know why I was worried. That definitely should have been, because putting my opponent at 16 is lethal with the Marionette Master. So opponent puts out a Harsh Mentor, not a big deal. We God-Pharaoh's Gift for Glint-Nest Crane. It also misses. Here I decide my opponent just does scoop at this point. I don't think this is necessarily a scoopable. My opponent can top deck into a Braid and then be in pretty decent shape. But we're getting quite deep here. Yeah, that definitely wasn't a scoop. My opponent could have drawn out of that. All right, so last matchup that we ran, and let's see this one, is I'm just going to show you the one match because they're both like this. They're exactly the same game. And match number 2 was kind of awkward because I did a good job setting up my own board state, but didn't find... I milled both the Bontu that could have taken care of the Scarab God here, and I milled the... didn't find a Lost Legacy in time. That's what it was. So my opponent Fatal pushes Minister, sure. And I'm able to Glint-Nest Crane and find a Walking Ballista. And so far so good. We need to find like a relevant card. I'm actually liking this so far because I'm like, okay, Servant, sure. No Long Tusk Cub. Find the other Metalwork though. I'm like, ugh, that's gross. Attack in for 1, throw out a Hope of Ghirapur. You do want to attack in to try to get your opponent to a 16 because, again, that is lethal. We have lethal combo in our hand. So a Champion of Wits makes this 2 in the graveyard, and then if we can draw a land and a Gates to Afterlife, we're in great shape. Should have attacked it with the other Glint-Nest Crane here. But my opponent does have the turn 4 Scarab God, which is just brutal. And we don't have anything for it at the moment. And so we'll attack in. And I think I make a huge mistake in this game. I'm not sure. We'll see. Yes, I do. I made a terrible mistake here. For some reason, I was thinking if I killed the Glint Sleeve Siphoner here, my opponent wouldn't be able to draw off of it. But I just make the most awful mistake here. So this game might have been my fault. Because I think that... Oh, no, we didn't decide to kill it. I thought I did. No, this turn we decided to kill it. And what I should have done is cast this Walking Ballista. And for 4. And not... I should have done that as his upkeep. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to take the damage. I'm like, okay, I can still this turn I can still win if I get the proper card. But a Whirler Virtuoso comes out. That's still fine. We have him at lethal if I draw into a but the strategy planning means we're pretty much dead there. So that was it. I definitely messed up. Because we probably would have one more turn. My opponent would have drawn a card. Wouldn't have activated the Scarab God. Probably would have cast something else in hand. And the strategic planning at least would have found us another Glint-Nest Crane. We could start blocking, chump blocking a lot of the cards. Yeah, not sure if it would have mattered, but the next game is the exact same. So that's just how that one ended with the last 4-1. The 4-1 before that was a lot of very similar teamer energies. The one matchup I think I lost was against... I know I lost against like O'Ketcher's Monument and stuff. It is very, very tough. It was a blue-red Artificer deck, and I just didn't. I was really unhappy how that one unfolded because I just couldn't find a lot of my combo pieces and milled so many of my cards. But anyway, hope this is a good deck tech with that. I know I started getting tired here and rambling off on not staying focused on the subject at hand. But anyway, hope that you enjoyed this. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.